Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Marriage. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, my good friends? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Today, we're talking to Every Day with HK, also known as Hope and Kadero Watson. You guys, this is an awesome show, right? And we title it The Power of Positivity because once you listen for 1 second of these guys, you're going to be like, okay, I've been doing everything wrong. I want what they got.
Sign me up.
You guys, seriously, check it out.
You're going to love it. All right, let's dive in. Today's show is brought to you by Faithful Counseling. Do you need help? Do you need some therapy? Go get it right now. Take our free online quiz when you go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage. It's amazing. You can do it from home. OBS. It's virtual, and you're going to love it.
That's right, guys. So take it from me, a licensed
No, take it from me. Keep on.
Take it from this guy, a real-time licensed marriage and family therapist. You guys, you need to talk about what you're going through. Anxiety, depression, overwhelmment, whatever it is, there's no shame in that game. We get stronger when we offload our problems, offload our concerns, offload our anxieties to other people. And a therapist knows what to do with it. So go to getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage to get the help that you deserve. Thousands of people, literally thousands of people are doing this. Getfaithful.com/anatomy of marriage. How you guys doing?
Man, we are great. A lot's been going on.
Yeah. I know. We'll dive all into it and get all the deets and what's going on, what's new. We know a couple things that are new and stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just to start off, thank you guys. It's good. It's truly good to see you guys again. It's always fun to chill. So we're glad that you guys could come back on. We really do appreciate it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're excited about this.
So we'll just dive on in. For our listeners who may not know who you are but are familiar with your work, can you guys just introduce yourselves? Tell our people who you are, what you're about, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, this is my lovely wife, Hope, and I'm Kadero Watson. So Hope and Kadero Watson, people may know us as Every Day with H and K, and we are what people say relationship and champions or influencers or whatever. We don't know. We just live life. We live life. And what we do is make videos that try to inspire healthy relationships with love and laughter.
Yeah. Nice.
And so we kind of got started because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And wanting to spend a little time with each other by doing some fun activities, by creating TikToks.
Sounds like we're still spending time with each other.
No, you missed us.
It didn't stop. Yeah.
And it blew up into a platform. And God has blessed us with opportunities such as this one and many others to just continue to show people that marriage can be fun. Marriage can be positive, even through all the ups and downs of it, with just effective communication and putting work in. Yeah. It could be one of the best times of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen. You guys, listen, effective communication and putting the work in.
And having fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
that's amazing.
For real. That's almost a mic drop. Like as a licensed marriage and family
and we're
therapist,
done.
Seriously, like effective communication, putting the work in over and over and over, putting in the reps, showing up, and like, okay, let's do this. We're not just having an easy out. And it was funny because me and Melanie were like, okay, what do we want to title this to kind of, lead from that? And just from watching your guys' stuff and all the videos and like just all the funny stuff. And if you guys don't follow them on Instagram, you got to. After
and
the show.
TikTok. You guys have hilarious videos. They're so much fun.
And so we were thinking for a title and I was like, okay, it's got to be something about positivity because you guys just bring the positivity over and over and over. And it's not like a fluffy, like, oh, let's paint everything
like
roses and pink and stuff like that. It's like a for real, like, no, let's keep it positive. So we wanted to dive into that and just get some inspiration from you guys in that way.
And I have a question. Did you guys grow up in homes where this was modeled, or is it just something that you started?
As far as like the marriage or the influencer piece?
TikTok. Just kidding.
No, like the positivity. Like how you guys show up for each other.
Hold on. I just had a flashback to think if I grew up and my parents were TikTokers.
Yeah, that would be a sight to see. So thank God we didn't grow up in the TikTok household. I think so, though. I think like both of our families, for the most part, of course, every family has their own issues, but for the most part, it's been positive. It's been happy experiences. So I think that we kind of did just grow up happy. We had great childhoods. So it was just like, we were always taught to be thankful for certain things and remain humble and just, have a great outlook on life and be, well, for me, optimistic in a lot of situations. So.
No, it's true. It's true. I think both of us we literally lived 5 minutes down the road from each other growing up. And it's crazy because both of our lives were kind of intertwined, middle school, high school together. And I think it's just one of those things where what we saw, we made sure we took all the good of what we saw in our parents and their marriages. And then it's like, all right, let's take the bits and pieces. What can we use? What have they instilled in us? I was like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. Mm-hmm. What were the things we looked at growing up? We were like, wow, like
we're not taking that with us.
Not take that with us. And just kind of mesh it all together and bring in what she learned, because it was still different on how her parents, who are now divorced, and then my parents, who've been through a lot and through what they've been through, stayed together. Mm-hmm. How are we able to take those experiences that we saw and felt and now come together and allow those moments, especially if we still get those like moments where we feel that insecurity of what we saw in our parents. How do we go break through that to make sure we have that positivity? And I think that, and then our lives in church, like that was always huge. Like, to make sure like God is always first and our joy comes from him. Right. And if we make sure that happens and we look to him for the joy and not the world, because the world or each other, because we're going to always fail. The people will fail you. Then that allows us to not have this expectation, a high expectation from people and others, because you're going to get disappointed.
Right. So did you guys go to church together then, like when you were young? Tell us the story of like how old were you when you met? Like, that's adorable. Tell me all about it. I want to know more.
So crazy. 5 minutes away from each other, but there was literally one road that separated us. She went to our school districts went different in elementary school. Yeah. So literally there was this one road that went across, and we went to different elementary schools. She's a year older, and then we went to the same middle school. So I was 6th grade, she was 7th grade. We used to see each other. We had the same kind of circle of friends, but we never like met in middle school. We just kind of saw each other, knew of each other. Well, she says she didn't know me, which is hard to believe. I was a stud in middle school.
A stud?
I was a stud in middle school. Okay. Even in middle school already.
Even in middle school.
Wow. That's a bold.
Now you know.
Now you know. Right. No. But we just had the same circle of friends. Yeah. High school is where we like officially met. Well, and I was in 9th grade. When I got to 9th grade, 10th grade, we had first period theater class, which is crazy to think how that full circle was theater class and all those videos we do. And we met each other basically like doing everybody sits in a circle, you say your name and one fun fact about yourselves. And she says I was loud and obnoxious with my introduction.
I mean, look, y'all know what I'm dealing with. Like, there's no way. Just don't deny it. Just accept it.
I do accept
what you
own it. I own it all. Meanwhile, she was we see her. You guys see her. She's out there, but this was Miss Reserve. Yeah. Like, hi, I'm Hope. I like to sing occasionally, but not in front of a lot of people. Yeah. Only for church. Only for church. That was Hope. Now you look at her and she's out here dancing and doing everything.
Because we're behind screens. In person, it's different.
It's easier behind the screen, right?
So the crazy thing is we went through high school. We dated for like 2 months when I was in 9th grade. She was in 10th grade. Went to homecoming together. We broke up, went our separate ways. We probably didn't talk for like a year and a half. We saw each other, would say hi, but that was it. Her best friend, my best friend, wanted to go to prom together. We hooked them up. That's how we kind of just started talking again. She graduated and I was going into my senior year. She called me out of the blue. Didn't even know she had my number. Asked me to go to TGF Fridays. And we went to lunch together and had been hanging out ever since. And that's how the story goes. We started dating. I went to school in Pennsylvania and she stayed home in Virginia, and we dated long distance for that period of time. And then I proposed going into my senior year in college. I proposed.
Nice.
And then we got married a month after I graduated and moved to Oklahoma a week later. It was like, boom, let's start our marriage. Going to the middle of nowhere.
No money.
Yeah, hold up.
No
Oklahoma. What was in Oklahoma? Because you just don't move there.
Right?
Exactly. I forgot it was a state.
Right.
So I applied. After graduating from Bucknell, I went to Bucknell University in Pennsylvania, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do next? Wanted to work in sports. Had an opportunity either to go to New York and be like a ticket sales guy for the Knicks, or go get my master's and work in college athletics. And I was like, I can get my master's for free. All I can hear is, oh, you got to continue education. Now help, kind of jump forward you to better things. So I was like, let's do that.
Yeah.
Not thinking I'm about to have a wife, and a graduate assistantship paid me about $1,000 a month.
Meanwhile, I had no job. Like we broke. I mean, peanut butter jelly, ramen noodles for weeks at a time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
Like it was rough.
We made it work though.
It was rough.
But it was so funny. Like we have some friends that from that time we used to just gather together, and like those are some of our closest friends from during that time, because we were all in the same boat. We were all broke. We were the only married couple, so it was very unique for them. And like we're all coming together. Let's eat together. We did Thanksgivings together. Yeah. It was just like, let's all we all in the same boat. We're gonna just try to make it.
Be broke together.
Be broke together. Right. Get our education. Let's see what happens. So that was a unique experience, but moving away was so great, I think, for our marriage, because it was like from the jump, it was like all we could rely on was each other.
Right.
Like we couldn't run home to mom and dad. They were 22 hours away.
Yep.
Calling was at one point our phones got turned off because we couldn't pay the bill. So it was like all we can do is just hang out with each other and fix our problems.
Yeah.
And we figured through that first year, if we could make it if we can make it through that, we can make it.
Yeah.
We'll be good. We'll be good. And that was a piece of finding the positivity in it all. And I look back, we have a friend that was like, wow, I would have never known y'all were going through all that, because you guys were always so happy. Y'all were inviting us over to your house and serving us, and yet y'all didn't have anything.
Like, I mean, but I just want to paint a picture, because some people may not know, like struggling wise, like we're talking about, we had what is the in the living room, where the sunlight can come in.
Yeah, like a sky roof.
Like a sky roof.
Skylight. Yeah.
Skylight. Thank you. And it's dead winter. And all of a sudden it starts snowing in the living room. And we're like, that was so in our skylight. And I'm like under there with my tongue, just trying to make the best of it. Tornado alley. Yes. We lived through tornadoes. So it's just like, if we've literally been through the storm in Oklahoma, and I was like, okay, well, if we can get through this, then we can get through pretty much anything in life. So we took that and just journeyed on, and to the point to where we are.
And because of my job and working in athletics, we went from Oklahoma back to Virginia, back to Oklahoma, South Dakota, Wisconsin, now Illinois.
Wow.
Oh.
So we've been a little bit of everywhere.
That's a lot. Wild. But like the power of those shared experiences is like, you talk to some couples and they might go through something really crappy, but if they don't have a growth mindset, and if they don't think, oh, my man's behind me, my woman's behind me, then they come on the other side thinking, yeah, that sucked. That was terrible. I hated how you showed up in that way, which is really unfortunate. But like the hard stuff that me and Melanie have been through, we just did 17-year anniversary. When was it? Just like last week. Yeah. So it's 17 years.
Thank you.
That's a minute, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking, man, those first 5 years, 1 year, like we lived in some crappy places that, there was never snow coming through the roof, but it's pretty close to it.
We had slugs coming in our walls. We had holes in the walls and literal slug trails through our house.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, it was a rental. It's like, but it was, it was all we could afford. It was that same time frame, like newly married. We have no money. We have a dog for some reason, and no money. So
barely take care of the dog,
right?
Yeah. But the power of those shared experiences, and if we can look back and go, oh man, that was crazy, but I knew that we were together. Right. That is a lot of fuel to push you through other hard times, which we can also get into and stuff like that. But the power of positivity. I wanted to go back what you were saying Kadero, I wanted to call you Special K for some reason.
Hey, I have a coach that used to call me that though.
Oh, really?
One of my coaches, I'm just calling you Special K.
Special
There
K.
you go. There you go. So you were saying that we took the positive, the good things from our family of origin, and then we were able to choose like, okay, I'm not going to bring that into this relationship. I'm going to bring all the good things in here. And a lot of people, for some reason, because we talk about family of origin a lot on the show, a lot of people sometimes don't even recognize that stuff and they just bring it in because it just comes in like a tidal wave. They don't realize that they can go, hold up, I am going to stop that. Sometimes we call it generational curse or just whatever you want to call it. It's like over and over and over. It's like, no, that can stop with me. I can pick and choose what I want to bring in to the marriage. So I just wanted to point that out for our listeners.
Right.
Like, you don't have to perpetuate this stuff.
Right.
You can like, it stops here. Whatever that is, drugs, alcohol, poverty, anything. You can
sarcasm,
stop
anything.
it.
Yeah,
sarcasm.
It could be so many things.
That's a great point. I look at it as almost like you packing, like you're in its baggage,
Right.
and it's like, all right, what am I gonna take?
Yeah.
And if you taking all that stuff, you're like, I can't get on this journey with all this stuff and then make sure my spouse is okay.
Right.
So let's lighten the load with all this dead weight that's not going to help us.
Yeah.
So, and then let's go with a nice light baggage because we're going to always go with a little something. If it's insecurities or whatever it may be, it's lighter than bringing all the other stuff that we've seen and dealt with. So
that's so funny. We just traveled recently and we are like the kings and queens of minimalist traveling. Like we have backpacks. We never check luggage. Like it's a rule.
Really?
Like you don't check luggage. You just compression bag. Every kid's got a backpack. And so I love that idea. Like get your carry-on. We don't need your giant, just your carry-on of your stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
The essentials.
I'm
essentials. Bringing the positivity of the growth mindset. Right?
I like that. That's good. That's really good. And I have to state, like, it totally changes the way I see you that you guys met in theater class. I studied theater. That was all I did.
Oh, really?
And so now I'm like, oh, I see it now. I get it. But here's what I want. Kadero impersonated you on your first day when you met. I want you to impersonate him.
Yeah, we're going to have to make that happen because I got some stuff up my sleeve that I could definitely display.
You got to get in character. You can't do it. You're like, hold on, that's going to take a minute. I gotta go over here.
That would be very enjoyable.
Gotta get the FUBU shoes and all of that stuff. You know?
What else?
Back
Keep
in
it
the
coming.
day.
This sounds so good.
Yep.
Corduroy suits.
Oh,
I did have a corduroy suit.
Just saying, it's a lot.
What color was it?
Burgundy.
Oh yeah, I like it.
With the matching burgundy shoes.
What was the cut of the pant? You had a corduroy suit.
Big baggy Steve Harvey style.
Yeah.
Oh,
Steve
really
Harvey.
Baggy then?
Like this baggy, like the jacket came.
Steve
The jacket came down to my calves.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like
It was
the
a lot.
long jacket. It used to be a place in our mall that you could pay like $120. He got the suit, the shirt, the tie, the shoes, the belt, everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of us that was where we
Well, they
went.
thought it was a good deal, but it's like, it's too good to be true. Like you're getting all of that stuff for $120.
Right.
I was smooth.
Okay.
You with me now, ain't you?
Well, not because of the suit.
Nah.
Not because of the suit.
It's what was in the suit,
Right.
right?
It was
Right.
That's
What
right.
was in the suit, right?
That's right.
God, yeah.
Well, this is totally unrelated, but I wore these might not look it, but they're pink earrings to celebrate y'all's little lady. Okay, I'm
my
so
gosh.
excited. Congratulations on little baby
So
girl.
excited.
Can we
Thank you
dive
so
into that
much.
and your story and talk about that?
Absolutely.
Oh
'Cause
my
Man.
God.
I just want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so that goes back to even Oklahoma days. And
Yeah.
we decided once we knew this was a story we were always going to tell, it was just like the timing of it.
Mhm.
God had placed it on our heart that we were going to tell this story and that we were going to help people heal or just let them know that they weren't alone
Yeah.
in a situation because it's so many people dealing with it and so many people feel alone in those moments. And we wanted to make sure people know like you're not alone in this. And so many people are dealing with it and don't know how to talk about it or don't know how to share their story. And crazy thing about it was like the month of May for us was huge. And from buying a new home, we moved into our home on the 8th of May. I started a new job, or got the job the following week, and then found out we were pregnant that same week. So it was like 3 major things. It was like, I was like, boom, 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 here you go. Let's go. Like, it was just wow. But in that moment, he's like, all right, it is time to tell this story. And even when those times of Oklahoma and Hope talked about in her YouTube, that, even as a teenager, she was dealing with, issues with her menstrual cycle and how that affected her and her mindset, and how she then brought that into our marriage. And then all the treatment we started, even as a year in the marriage, which I still go back and think, I was like, 11 years of infertility. I was like, why were we trying that first year knowing we were broke?
Looking back, I don't know why we were trying that first year, because we were
broke. We did get pregnant, but I was like, that's how God has your back.
Yeah. And I think he knew we weren't ready, like, ultimately. But I think like it just, sometimes you grow up thinking, because you get that pressure from other people as well. And it's like, oh, you get married, you have kids, like that's the order of things, by some people's standards. And it's kind of like, oh, so that was a great thought. And for me, I always loved children. Like I was always at church with the baby. Like I was taking people's children in a good way, just like, let me hold and like all that stuff. So it's like, it was always in me to be a mother. And I was just like, why not? God says we can now. We're legally married. So let's give it a shot.
Do it.
And so it was like that first year we were trying, and I kind of knew, because like, God forgave us, but even before marriage, when we would have our slip ups, like nothing would happen and come from it. And we were protected and stuff like that. But then it was like, there were some moments when we may not have been. And I was like, okay, well, we've been at this for a year. Nothing has happened. And I was like, and I know that like my cycles weren't normal. And I was like, I feel like there's going to be some sort of struggle. So let's see if we can get in front of it and see, like, because we never know how long it could take, in which now we figured out it took 11 years. So it was like, so we started with the oral, then we've eventually moved on to like IVF.
Oral
as far as like
stuff.
Yeah, I was following you, but
the folks know.
I
don't think this is that podcast of theirs. I know we got Anatomy of Sex podcast, but we're not on that one.
No wonder you weren't getting pregnant.
You wouldn't get pregnant.
We tried and tried.
I had to go there.
That way. So we tried like medication, and then we eventually went to IVF, and that's when we moved here to Illinois, because Illinois covered pretty much like 90% of IVF, in which is unheard of. It's only a few states that do that. And so we're like, okay, well, let's try. This is our opportunity.
Yeah.
So we did it, failed the very first time. Before that, we had miscarried in 2016. And then we tried IVF the second time here. We got pregnant, and then we miscarried again. So we were like, dang, we were just fed up. I was tired. My body was tired of going through just the hormonal changes and the shots and injections and all that stuff. And so that's why like this baby is just so miraculous in its own way, because it's like, we weren't trying. At this point, we were TikToking all 2020. I mean, so it was like,
having
that
sex
wasn't
and
a thought.
TikToking.
Yeah. So it was like, that wasn't a thought, like, to be honest. And so it's like, okay, we're moving. And then I found out like my period was late, which to me wasn't abnormal, because I've been struggling this whole time. And I just thought it was maybe late because the stress of the move and like all of that stuff. And then like my boobs just kept hurting. And I was like, Kadero, this is like the 4th week. And normally they don't last this long. And at that point, Kadero was like, okay, well, we should probably get a test.
No. It wasn't at that point. It was the point where every day around 1 or 2 o'clock, this one would fall asleep. And it was just like, we slept for 8 or 9 hours. Why are you so tired?
I couldn't explain it. I didn't know.
I was nap shaming her.
He was nap shaming me hard.
Get up. We haven't made any videos. We need to do this.
I mean, he was bad. He was like, we need to get to work. And I was like, I'm tired.
All right, maybe we should get this test, because now you sleeping a lot.
Yeah. So then at that point, mentally, I was like, I don't want to take a test. I was like, I've taken hundreds, if not thousands of tests in the past. I'm tired of disappointment, false hopes, all of that stuff. But then it was one Sunday, I woke up and just took a test, and I was quiet. Like my mouth just dropped open because I saw this faint line. And I was like, okay, I've seen this before when we miscarried, and that meant my numbers weren't as high as they should have been. So I was like, I don't want to get excited. But then I told Kadero, and he was like, no way. He was like, show me the test. Because he didn't take my word for it. He was like, show me the test. He was like, how many we got? And I was like, 3. So we took them. And then we made the appointment, and there was a baby on the ultrasound. And I was like, what in the world? Like, God, it had to be God, because we weren't trying. I had given up at that point, and I was like, you know, it's just crazy. And so now we're at the point now that we are 5 months along, and it's like, this is the longest pregnancy I've ever had. And they say everything looks great. And it's just been easy, like no morning sickness. So I'm like, this is literally a gift from God, because I feel good. Like overall, there hasn't been major struggles or anything. So it's just,
that's amazing.
Yeah. And yesterday we had our gender reveal and found out it was a girl. So it was just funny, because our whole marriage, we've dreamt of a girl in our dreams. Like that's all that we've seen. So when we saw that, we were like, we've literally just dreamt of her. And now she's coming. So
man, that is so
exciting.
That is so awesome. I watched your guys' process on Instagram, you know, and you had like, you know, part 1, part 2, part 3, and obviously you guys really got emotional on that, because I mean, it's an emotional thing. There's a lot of ups and downs of like not only physical stuff, but like mental. Like, oh my gosh, this is so much mental energy just going out and going out. What do I get my hopes up? Well, what if I don't? All this stuff, like all the questions, which it's really stressful in itself. But you guys were really vulnerable, and I want to say this: it's easy for y'all women to cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially on camera and stuff. But Kadero, like, you know, you were super open about that stuff too. And I want to say, I want to give you props for being like leading in that way. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us guys, it's like, I've told Melanie before, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak for you, but it's like, I would rather, what did I say recently on the show? I said, I would rather lift like a 2,000-pound boulder wearing underwear barefoot in the snow with like dogs barking at me than like cry or something like that, because it's easier. It is sometimes easier. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not ashamed to cry or anything like that. I'm like, okay, let it out. But it is so emotionally hard. And I think that as guys, as men, we're trained up in that way. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to thank you for that, because whenever we do stuff like that, we're like giving permission for other dudes to be like, hey, let those emotions out.
Right.
It's way better out. And a lot of times our women want that side of us, you know, like that emotionality, not like just crying babies all, you know, 24/7 or anything like that, but just like, oh, you got emotions, you're letting me in, you know? So I just seriously wanted to give you props for that. And tell me a little bit about like what you thought about it. Were you like, oh, I'm not going to do that, or, you know, who cares? What was your process like that?
So I would say I'm actually total opposite. I'm probably a big crybaby.
I don't do it all the time.
I don't do it all the time. Like, I still like, especially if I'm around my guys, you know, I ain't crying now. I ain't crying. But there are moments that are super emotional where it's, especially if it's draining on me emotionally and mentally, the cry is my outlet. And going back and just talking about it and reliving those moments, that was my outlet. And so it was, for me, it was easy just to like let it out again, to be like, man, that was tough. And I think the biggest, and for me, it was like the weird parts of when I was crying, because I remember crying. She started talking about us at the basketball game to do the shot. And I was like,
yeah, that hit you hard.
It hit me hard. I was like, that's how hard we was working at this, man. Like, we still trying to have date night, but you got to be on these schedules for the shot. So here we are with a little backpack of ice and our medication, because it had to stay on ice. And we're like telling our friends, hey, we'd be right back. And we got to head to the family restroom so I can inject it with the stuff. And it was just like, man, that was just mentally draining. And to see at the end of the day, nothing came out of it. It was hurtful. And so for me, it was just easy. But like you said, like, I do hope that it shows like there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable in those moments. Like, we all hurt, and it's okay to hurt and to show that. And like I said, your woman usually wants to see that, or your spouse wants to say, thank you for letting me in, and not just looking at this as just another, situation, but you care enough to feel the emotions with me. And I felt every emotion. And I think that's also part of being a godly husband, is being that covering. So whatever she feels, I should feel that too, because I'm covering her. And so to see every time I'm poking it in the hurt or the deferred hope of knowing that we tried and it wasn't successful. When she hurts, I hurt. And I'm hurting like double, because like I didn't do much out of it at all. And so and all I could do is sit there and watch and see the hurt, and it just hurts me even more. It was one of those things. I was just wanting people to know, like, for both parties, it's both people are going through it, and sometimes even in those moments, people may forget about the man.
Right.
And and in those moments, they were able to see, like, yo, it affected me a lot. Because at the end of the day, all I wanted is her to be happy, and when she's not, it tears me up. It tears me up.
That's good.
That's so cute. One of the things I love about you guys, and all the things that you do, is that as humans, we learn by watching other people. We watch our parents, and that's how we learn how to talk to people, all the things. And some of us don't have really positive families that we came from. Some of us don't have dads that cried, or that even had that idea of, like, I'm covering my wife, and if she hurts, I hurt. And what I love about the work that you do is that you model that for people. You don't just talk about it. Lots of marriage people will just talk. They'll say, yeah, you should be this, you should do that, you should, like, blah, blah, blah. But then they never show us how, right? And what I love is that you guys show us inside the ups and downs and the good and the bad and the funny and all of it. And you allow us to see a different way of, how can I do that? Can I do what they're doing? Whether that's a funny TikTok video where you're like trying to climb all over or whatever it is, or crying when we talk about infertility or our journey and all of those things. And so it's just really, I'm always really thankful for people who are willing to step out there and model these behaviors, because that's the hardest part. Like actually showing up and being like, this is what it looks like,
We even tried one of the poses you guys did for, I don't know, this is a while back, like the yoga poses, like you see somebody who's like actually knows how to do it, like, okay, I got this. And you're like, halfway breaking an arm and stuff. We tried something out, but every time it's like,
laughing watching you.
There goes Kadero moonwalking, and like then Hope is like trying to like contort her body or something like that. It's really funny, but it's like actually doing that stuff. Now, if a couple can be like, oh, hey, that's funny. Hey, let's try that. You know what I'm saying? And then if they can just try that, and I'm not saying, go do crazy yoga poses or whatever, but like, enjoy one another. So many couples are just like, we're all about business, or all about the kids or anything. So if we can slow down and go, hold up, we're best friends, we're together all the time, let's enjoy one another, emotionally, physically, funnily. Is that a thing?
With fun?
Right. You're going to say something?
I wanted to ask, and you said you didn't really set out to create this platform, but now you have it. So what thing, tell us about that journey. Like, what is it like knowing that you impact people, and what kind of responses do you hear from your listeners and your viewers? I'd love to know more about it.
Oh God.
Wow.
It's so crazy, because like we said, like, we did not set out for this. But the thing that kept us going from when we first started was the comments that people were saying. And it was the whole, my mother just passed. I've been crying for 2 weeks straight, but now I'm watching your videos and actually smiling for the first time. Or my son has autism and he is reacting to your videos, even though he doesn't react to anything else. And it's like those moments, like literally we will cry behind our phones, because we're like, we weren't expecting to do this, like to impact people in this way. And so it's like, all we can do is just thank God for the opportunity, and thank God for allowing us to be a vessel. Because for us, it's normal life. Like, we literally just turn the camera on, and it's like, it's just so weird. It's hard for me to fathom that, like, our regular life is doing this. So it's kind of like, it's kind of weird, but it's kind of like, well, okay, God, if that's what you have for us, then we'll do it. But it's just, the people that just say, we need to see more love, we need to see more Black love, or healthy examples of marriage, or, you guys give me hope again. I've been divorced for 30 years and now I'm looking to love again because of you guys. And it's kind of like, it's overwhelming, and it's kind of like a sense of responsibility that we now have, because it's like,
Absolutely.
This is our mission, together. Like, this is our purpose. And it's fun finding that together, because I, for the longest time, never knew like, what is my purpose, or what am I supposed to do?
But she always wanted to work with me. And I was like, I am not trying to work with you. Like,
I did.
I love you, but I don't want to work with you.
I know
your style. I know your style. I'm not trying to do it.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
This style is totally different. Like, before, it was like event planning or like something administratively, but this is fun. Like, this is like literally us just being ourselves. So it's kind of like, it's not work because it's just us, but it, of course, on the back end, there is actual work behind it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's kind of just like, it's just.
I think the craziest part is it's ministry.
Yeah.
And because we grew up in the church, and it was one of those things we used to have those pastors that prophesied, y'all marriage is going to be something different, and y'all will be examples. Like, we've heard that before we got married in the very beginning, like, your marriage is going to be it's going to blow something the world up. It's going to be something unique, and you're going to be preaching the word. And I was like, nope, I'm not preaching. I'm not trying to get in no pulpit.
I said, I'm not a first lady.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Like, in the back church, we was like, nope, I'm not trying. But to remember, then it was like one of those moments when we started this, it was like God reminded me, the church is just the people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say, when we think of the church, sometimes people think of the building. The church is the people.
Mm.
And we got to get outside of the four walls and just make sure we're preaching the word. That's all I commanded you to do, is just lead people to me through the word. How you do it and the way you do it can be up to you, long as the word is still coming forth and staying true. Mm-hmm. And so when we're doing these fun things, and I'm serving, and I'm being a husband that is looking out for my wife first and loving her like Christ loved the church, I'm ministering the word through a funny video, and people are like, oh, or they just see the joy, and they're like, yo, why are y'all so happy?
Or how are y'all so happy?
How are y'all so happy? How do y'all get through the hard times? Because we know it's not all. Yeah, but because we got a God that we serve, and we have a relationship with him individually and together. Now we can say different things and do different things to say, hey, this is why.
Yeah.
And this is how. And that's the ministry behind it. And then, like I said, that's when it's like, oh, cool. This is bigger. And this is something that now cannot stop, because now we're in our mission. We're in alignment with the assignment that he's had for us.
I have never heard that. In alignment with the assignment. I love that.
So a couple things. I mean, when you said that you guys had people saying your guys' marriage, I promise you that gave me cold chills like up my spine. I was like, oh, there's a word. I don't know what's happening, but it was so, like, I for real got cold chills when you said that. And it made me think of another thing that there's some kind of saying, I don't know, it's like an old saying. It's like, share the gospel, use words if you have to, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And
have you heard that before?
That makes me think of what you guys are doing.
But I love that.
Yeah, share the gospel, use words if you have to.
Yeah, because we're not up there, preaching in the pulpit or whatever, being all this. We're like, oh no, we just make videos,
right.
And then people like creating that relationship, and then creating that conversation. It's like, oh, I want some of that. What do you got over there? Okay, yeah, tell me about that, right? But then even before that, I was thinking, we just like do our thing and get together. And I've said this for years. It's like whenever me and Melanie do the show, or if we're going to do like a Instagram, video or something, or just a podcast episode, it's like most of those times are like the best times I get to hang out with my best friend and really talk about just like real stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want it to ever be like, oh, we got to do this and this and this. Of course, we're going to like fine tune stuff and be like, okay, let's add some value and like, get our, message across or whatever, but never to the point of like, hey, I'm really mad at you. Oh, let's go do a show, then put on this face kind of thing. Right. It's not that, because it's like, I mean, everybody says authentic, and that's a buzzword, but I recently heard a new definition of authentic, and that comes from the word author. And it's actually like, oh, I am authoring what I want, like who God made me, like who I am. Cool. So when I'm authentic, I'm not saying the buzzword. I'm saying, hold up. Let me author exactly what's in my heart, in my mind, on my spirit kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I think people just resonate and gravitate to that, just like obviously they do to you guys, which is pretty rad.
I love that authoring what's out of your heart, because then you see what you see is what you get. And that's one thing we do take to heart when people, what they see is truly us. And it's funny because the people who do know us and have known us for a long time, when other people have say, oh, you know Hope and Kadero, and it's like they're the greatest. They're like, yeah, that's just them. For them, it's like we're funny, but they're like, that's just them. They've always been like that since high school. Like it's whatever. But that's for us. That's humbling, because we know, okay, we're staying on path. Yeah. We're not putting on this facade. We're not putting on this mask. We're doing exactly what we've already called to do. We're authoring what you said, what's out of our hearts and who we are. Yeah. And we're not changing up for anybody.
Yeah. And that's what people want. Like if we're for real, like people want, because there's too much fake stuff out there. There is. One thing I want to ask you guys about, and we do this with our clients and with our listeners too, is like, okay, we have to, there's an importance of having a shared vision within marriage, not just like, okay, we have to blend everything together where I don't know who I am and I don't know where you are, and it just blurs together, but the idea of what is our shared vision of marriage, of family, of kids, of how we communicate, of how we do intimacy, of how we plan, all that stuff, and then interweave that in with spirituality. If you guys could talk about what your shared vision is, and it seems like it's been on the same page for quite a long time, but just share a little bit about that and why it's important to you guys.
Yeah. I would say, honestly, our shared vision goes with our mission statement for Everyday with H&K. I mean, because one, that is birthed out of us naturally. And it's just to inspire healthy relationships with love and laughter. And I think like we always say that we want, like our number one prayer is just to be used by God in any form or fashion that he has for us to be used in. And I think just like you said, being authentic, showing people that healthy marriages do exist, showing them that like you can have a best friend as a spouse and have fun. And I think that's one of the main things is like having fun with your spouse. Like a lot of people think like when you get married, it's just like, oh, the ball and chain, you hear that all the time. And it's kind of like, no, like it can be fun. Like he is legit my best friend. He knows everything about me. Like if we want to go, well, I'm not going skydiving, but like if we want to go out, go skydiving, like that's our business, So it's kind of like, just showing a positive light on marriage and showing people that it can work if you put in the work. And, just showing people how to, I guess, live their best life or live their best marriage through our mistakes, through our mess ups, through our troubling times, but also the fun times, like just being an inspiration, I think is our mission overall. I mean, unless you got more to add to
you
this.
Hit it. I think for us, truly our vision starts with our spirituality, and then it branches off. I think for us, our spirituality is the center. It is the first point. And I think that's why we were able to very connect easily, because we always talk about marriage as the triangle, as God is at the top, and then we're on those corners. If we're both individually trying to strive to be closer to God, we meet in the middle. And so that is where it all centers. And then there's all the spokes of the fun and being role models and going and having good communication. That all works because we are going towards the way God has showed us to go. So if we're serving and God is a God of service, and we say, okay, that means we need to serve one another, it's easier to get through things when I know she has my best interest in heart, I have her best interest in heart. And those are I think the vision of it all is to make sure that we are living a Christ-like marriage through our individual relationships, and then we bring it all together to make it something great and impact lives, and just it becomes an overflow. It comes there's an abundance in it, and it's gonna be a rough patch. Like we always say, God didn't have his life. Jesus' life wasn't just straight. He didn't make miracles and went through life like whatever, like it was
Walking
good.
to
Like
Jerusalem,
at the end of the day,
everything is
easy. He wasn't just happy.
No one's trying to kill me.
Yeah, he knew he had to get on the cross, and there was even a point. You had the movie. Why did I get married? Like they're like, man, there's times like, why did I get married? Jesus was like. In Gethsemane, he was like, dang, why did I do this? Lord, can you take this away?
Right.
I'm not trying to be on this cross. Like if you look at it, we're going through those same paths. But if we just listen to the will of God, we continue to build our relationship with him, we can get closer together and we can just continue to vibe well with one another.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I want to talk about that more because we try to communicate that too. And it's such a hard thing to communicate that like when you're not trying to get your satisfaction from your spouse and they're not trying to get their satisfaction from you, but you're both striving towards a higher calling to Jesus, it works better. Like it's the weird, and people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. But he said this. I don't care what he said. Like that's not the point. And it's a really confusing thing to try to teach. So will you teach it for us? And go.
Welcome to the show, guys. We have Pastor K and First Lady Hope.
They're gonna Special K to Pastor K.
Right, that's right. I love it.
No, it is a very tough piece to kind of wrap around your mind. But I think the first key is saying is a surrender to self, and that's why you have to have the word, and that's why you got to get in it for yourself. The funny thing about us and why we do what we do also is because for some people we may be the only Bible they read or watch, and so that's why we have to live our life in a way that's, while it's entertaining, they know, okay, this Christian life ain't just boring, and then at the same time they know, like, okay, you still gotta live your life in a way that's pleasing to God, because at the end of the day, God is a rewarder. Don't make it's not like but it's all about the heart posture in all of it, in our spirit. It's not like we out here trying to do things so that God can, hey, we did this, Lord, so bless us. But it's a thing where we want to do it because we want to have that communion, that covenant with them. Why are we here as human beings not to just live this life? Because at the end of the day, we're going to die, and what happens? We're like, everything you gained on earth is not going to be there. So our livelihood and why we are here on this earth is to be with God, and he's directing our paths in every little nuance. And when he puts you somewhere, are you still willing to say, God, come with me in this? Or are you, when he puts you somewhere, you're like, oh, well, I got here, I did it on myself, God, you out of here on this.
Right.
And so in marriage in itself is like taking two individuals that come from maybe totally two different realms. And now, just like Christ said, I'm going to sacrifice myself, two individuals now have to say, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the good of somebody else. Jesus said, I'm going to sacrifice my life for the goodness of everyone's sins. That's the hardest part. And I think that's why it gets so difficult, because we are birthed into sin, and we're birthed with a selfish nature. And so when we get with someone else, you're telling me I got to give up my life for that person? What if they make me mad? What if they disagree with me? What if I don't like their mother? Like anything and everything. I love my mother-in-law. But anything and everything, it ended up going back to self. But we got to remember, Jesus never was worried about himself. He was always worried about others.
And I think that we also have to remember that we are, even though we're together, we're both on separate paths spiritually. Kadero has his own journey that he talks to God, and they have their relationship. And it's like, whether he does something weird or funky to me, I can't be like, well, he's made me mad, I can't, function, or, he's taken my happy away from me. He has to work on that himself. He has to answer to God for what he's doing, or, a sin, and vice versa. I don't want to put it all on the man, but it's whatever that person's dealing with, I think we have to go to the mindset of they're still a work in progress. They're not going to be perfect. They're not going to have all the answers, or I can't look to get my happy from them because they may not be happy themselves. And that's something maybe they need to work on or pray for or whatever. So it's kind of like taking the pressure off of them, and that taking the pressure off of them kind of steers your heart in another direction as far as not looking for that happiness or for them to complete you, or, you know, those whole sayings that people say, like, they completed me. And it's like, well, we should kind of be on our own completion journey with God and then bring those together. So it's like, never look for that in a person, because everybody's still a work in progress. And I think once we kind of wrap our minds around that and know that like everybody's dealing with stuff that they, you know, are trying to deal with, then you kind of have more compassion and more grace, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it like wraps everything in grace? Yeah. And that is so hugely important in marriage, to have grace, and it's like a skill we have to be taught, because we are not
it's a muscle. You gotta learn to flex it.
Yeah.
Man.
Repetition. And again, in the 19th day, it's back at that triangle. Like, we are apart. Yeah. We are definitely apart, but we're both going this way. And when we go this way, we connect. But in that meantime, while we're both going this way, we got to learn, we got to do the repetition of forgiveness and unconditional love and grace. And there's so many pieces as we get in the word and learn what God is saying about it. Okay, it's changing my heart. Yeah. And we got to pray God change their heart, and as we continue. But there may be times you're here and they're there. Right. And you're like, oh, that's the hard part. But God, he also talks about that. Find joy in the tribulation, because I'm still working it out.
Right.
And I'm still working it. I still have a will for your life to prosper. And that prosper doesn't necessarily mean money. It's just prospering in life and being good health and being happy and joyful and finding those fruits of the spirit of patience. And that's why you hear the quotes of the scripture of 1 Corinthians 13 of love. It's so important, because you got to remember, like, to love somebody unconditionally. It takes patience and kindness and not counting the wrongs, and so many of those things it mentions there. That takes a lot.
When
you're when you ultimately are selfish and thinking about yourself.
Right. Yeah. I love that you said that, because when you said the word unconditional love, I was like, there's like, I love to think of saying words differently. Like, that means to love without conditions, right? So like, even if Seth's a turd to me one day, love him, right? Even if who knows, whatever it is. And this applies so amazingly beautifully when you have kids. To love without, like, unconditional love is to love without conditions.
Sometimes it's easier to love your kid than your spouse, though.
That's for darn tootin'.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you guys will know.
They seem more innocent.
Right. It's like, oh, you're only 3. You're not 34.
You don't know any better.
You did this thing for the 100th time.
I expect you not to know. Where you, on the other hand, you should know better.
You got to get your stuff together, lady.
But I just love that you brought that up, and the idea of unconditional love, because so many people say that term, but then they don't really dissect what it really means and what the action of walking that out looks like. And there's a ton of grace involved, and faith and hope and love and all that.
That's where the work is. Like, at the top of the conversation, it was like, we're talking about work. It's like, we got to do the work, right? And couples that do that get the reward, you know, and not as like, you know, not $1 million. It was like, I'm content with myself and my partner. We're in a good relationship.
Right.
That's a reward, because we've been on the opposite side of that before. I'll tell you that. You know, and then the reward of this side is so much different. But so I want to be respectful of your guys' time. And
we're good. We're good. Okay. We love talking with y'all.
Okay, good. So what was I going to say? Oh, okay. So I was asked this question. So other than you guys are pregnant and you're having a girl, she's going to be amazing, all that stuff, what else is bringing you guys joy, like jazz right now? It's going to be fall. It's going to get cold there up in Illinois. What's bringing you guys jazz right now?
Just that right there. The fact that it's about to get colder in Illinois, and she's ready for the bugs to go away, she can just sit outside with the crisp air
without going like that. Like, I mean, seriously, because they're so annoying. And I think, like, whenever that September, October rolls around, and you know that, like, for me, it's Hallmark movies. You know, you know that they're gonna start playing. You know that the hot chocolate's about to come out. Like, Christmas is about to come. That is what I live for. And I'm like, I cannot wait. I'm just ready. I'm so ready. So that is a major joy. I bring it up at least 7 times a week to Kadero, that, like, I'm just ready for fall that turns into winter.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be unique for me this year will be this new job that I just recently started, because as you know, I was been in sports all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a arena where I was working 15, 16 hours a day. They're in football season right now. So we're talking like these coaches and their staffs, and they are gone from their family from 5 a.m. They're probably getting home about 12 at night, and then they up and they do it again. And I think the last time we talked, it was like I was in that transition to think, okay, do we go full time with this?
And I remember that. I was thinking it too. It was probably right around the time. Yeah, and I saw like, okay, let's do this. What's it gonna look like? So keep on.
We were at that point, and I was really praying about it, and it was crazy. I was at a point like, God, I want to step out, but man, there's a couple little nuances. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure that I'm ready, but I know I need to get off this, and I want to be home with my wife, and I want to be able to do H&K more, and just be able to just have more attention to it. Funny thing is, probably not too long, early April, a colleague that was working at the school with me, he left and took another job in California. But then he called me, he was like, hey, just want to tell you how much I appreciate you, and how much that, watching you and your wife do things that meant so much to me. And I know what you want to do. Just want to let you know, I mentioned your name to a guy that's looking for a position. It's a work from home. So, and you'll be making more than what you're making at your current job. And it'd be like 9 to 5, no weekends. You'll have holidays off. And I was just like, God, there was a couple of things I was worried about on the end of just going full time, but this could work well. So I was like, it was like one of those points. I was like, all right, God, I need a Gideon moment. And the Gideon moment was like, Gideon didn't know. He was like, if this is the case, make my cloth wet. And he was like, and I was like, I need that. I was like, I need that moment. If this is supposed to happen, God, let this interview process be a breeze and I get this job. And it was a breeze. And it was like the person that called me actually knew him from football. And he used to like be one of my account managers in the position I was in. And so I met with another lady, and I remembered her name. And she was like, hey, you remember me? I was like, yeah, your name sounds familiar. She was like, yeah, I was your account manager when you were at Wisconsin. I was like, yeah, I remember. And so here we are going through all these interviews. People, I'm remembering their names. And then I meet with the CEO, and he's like, we've only talked for about 20 minutes, but I just feel something, man. There's a connection. I really enjoy you. Then about 2-3 days go by, and I was just like, man, I'm not hearing nothing. And he just texts me, hey, you're our top choice. You'll get the HR stuff on Monday, but want to let you know I want you on board. And that was it. And I was just like, wow, like I'm about to make more money. I have less hours, 9 to 5. When times where I can spend, do our H&K. And then I have weekends off, like that first weekend off. And I'm like at the beach, and there was a guy that texted me, hey, what's up? What you doing, man? At the beach, what you doing? We just still at the office. Oh, man. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, oh, man.
Dang.
Dang.
You.
Darn. Well, I'm enjoying my day, man. And then a week later, find out we're pregnant. And I was like,
it's like everything just started connecting. Like everything was like, oh, God.
And it was like I was in prayer one day, and it was like a light bulb went off. I ran into the back room. Hope was like, Hope.
I was still in the bed.
And it was like, man, God says like everything that works, everything works for good. But those who love him, that's according to his will. And it's so crazy because I've been on this journey in athletics, but I meet all these people, and then these same people that I meet then connect me to this person that gives me this position that I'm in. We're doing this H&K, which is our purpose and our will, but I wanted the time. And I'm like,
this whole time he was talking about 20 times faster than what he just did. And I was like, oh, like what is happening to you right now?
It just hit me like, man, it all worked out great. And while And while I have that love, what I'm doing, I still work a little bit in athletics. I'm just selling the product that I used to work on. And so it was just like, and so there'll be moments where if I need to travel, I can travel. I can still get that little the camaraderie of the football piece of it that I love, and I've been knowing all my life. But at the end of the day, when 5 o'clock here, I can be like,
peace.
And everybody else is still doing it, like they're in there grinding. And that was the piece I most love. And most part, I was like, God, I thank you. I appreciate you, because I had no clue what the plan was going to be. Yeah. But like the word says, he has a plan for us, and he knows. He's the author of it all, and he's working it all out. And he's just the divine connections that were being made through this whole journey of mine to put me where we are today, to be able to do what we love to do and still take care of my family as a man. Because that was the biggest part. I was like, how do I take care of my family as a man? And then to have our child on the way and know that there's not going to be a day where I'm going to miss her first steps.
Oh, it's amazing.
Or hear her say, dad, for the first time, because I'm out at a game or at practice. I can be right here. I'm working from home, and I'll be right here working. And there may be days where she may be on the call with me, and I'm just holding to make sure that it's just going to be is what it is. But those are the moments I'm already looking forward to. Like, I'm not going to not have to miss a moment of her growing up.
Oh, that's so good.
That is so, like, for real. I didn't think we were going here, but that is like so inspiring. I'm like, I'm finna go to my prayer closet now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I even have a prayer closet, but there was a time, because I grew up in the church, you know, and like praying was a huge part of our life. Like when we were going through the real stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was imperative that we were just praying all the time, all the time, all the time. And then honestly, I've gotten a little bit away from that. And I was asking one of my friends, I was like, hey man, do you pray still? I mean, I still pray, but he was like, and he's a Christian too. He's like, nah, I hadn't prayed in a minute. I'm like, what is that? What is that's something missing here. And then I'm just thinking about like all the things that like were just clicking for you guys, like blessing after blessing after blessing. And then it's like, there gets to be more energy behind that kind of thing, and then you attract things like people, places, like oh, I got hooked up with this guy and this, and it's just blessing after blessing, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this stuff is real kind of thing. So like for real, like again, I wasn't expecting this. Like I'm a little convicted here, like in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like
nothing wrong with it.
Hey, we got to get our prayer game. We've been messing around. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's honestly too, like, just when you realize God just wants that relationship.
That's it.
And it's just talking to him. And it's like, okay, just commune with me, just be with me. And he's like, we already know like he wants the best for us, but it's kind of like a selfish moment. And we've had many of these moments too, where it's like, we expect things or we want things, but we haven't even talked to our father. And it's like, I could only imagine raising a girl, which she will not be like this, but asking or wanting things from me, but she doesn't even want to talk to me. And it's kind of like, well, you know, you then feel used and you feel like, well, do they even like love me? They just want, take. And it's like, he just wants that relationship. And I think like, that's all that prayer is just talking to your father. And it's like, you know, once he just feels that, it's like, yeah, I want to bless you. Like, I mean, because he already naturally wants to. So it's kind of just like the icing on the cake is just for him to have
that communion with you. And that's the piece where people get confused when we lose sight of when we haven't been praying. It's like, man, all it is take a moment. It could be wherever you are and just say, God, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is what I'm like talking regular. And like, yeah, I know. He's listening. He's listening the whole time. But it's just nice to say you acknowledge him, him in all your ways, and just in everything. At that moment, you stop and you're frustrated, like, God, man, I am frustrated about this, and this is was this happening. And he's like, okay. And either in that moment he convicts you to be like, yeah, but you need to get this right, and this is why this is happening, or he like, I get you, I got you. And you just
stick with me.
It's just those moments, and we've learned that. And that's even in our relationship, when things are weird, we be like, have you prayed today? When the last time have you prayed?
Because you were acting.
Because we'll notice ourselves get real irritable. We're weird when we haven't had that time with them and haven't communed with them. We get weird and like think we get testy and like, yo, you've lost that joy and that peace. That's where you've lost that peace a little bit, and you're so worried and anxious. And that was me big time as a husband and wanting to lead, like staying anxious and like, I got to do it this way and I got to do it I got to take care of it. Not just casting my cares on God to say, okay, God, I'm frustrated. I'm worried about this, but you gotta handle it. Let me just live life and let you handle it. And when I've done that, it's worked out.
Yeah.
Right.
And I got to just go back to my remembrance. I just got to remember that, oh man, back then he did it. Why would he change now?
Yeah.
Why would he not do it now? He did it then. He did it back then. He did it then. But that's our human nature. We forget.
Right.
It happened in the Bible.
Right. I know, right? And that's so funny. You read stuff in the Bible, you're like, still?
Again?
It's still happening now?
Still doing
Still doing this.
You got, I got all those, because I grew up Pentecostal, like Church of God, like, I got all these songs in my mind now, when I mean, these songs, they go on forever, like,
yeah.
Yes.
Sally's just bringing it out.
Running around the church.
I know, I was going to say, we got 10, what'd you call that one? Got 10 speed and he'd run.
10 speed, yep.
Go down the aisle.
We know it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. I love it.
I love that so much. And I really appreciate you guys sharing like all of your journey and everything that you guys do for couples and for families. I can't wait to see your little kiddo and to see how that just transforms your work and it just brings joy to so many people. It's going to be so fun to watch. I love kids. So, but what are your baby name options? Crazy. Yeah. Do you have to share baby name ideas? Or it's okay if you don't want to, but I love talking baby names.
Well, the funny thing is like we have this list that we've been working on since 2001, right? So
just for a minute. It's a short list.
But it's funny because like we found ourselves like going through that list and we like blew it off and names from 5 years ago were like, no, that's not flying in 2021 or 22 or whatever. But I don't know. We are so open. Like we haven't set like a certain name or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, if y'all have suggestions, let us know. Like
Melanie.
Melanie. Yeah, there you go. No. One thing that we got 3 kids, right? And maybe I don't think we ever talked about this on the show, but our kids have a family name and then a biblical name. And that's it.
And that's how we decided their names.
Something from my family or her family. It doesn't matter, right? Like we bring them together. And then a biblical name.
Mariner does it. One of our kids' names is Mariner. That's not a family or biblical. Well, yes,
but Seth is. So Seth is a family and biblical.
That's true.
Right?
So yeah, our first kid is Mariner Seth Studley is his name. And the funny part with our kids' names, they're the only names we could agree on with each kid. There was not like a list. It was like, he hated all the names I liked. I hated all the ones that he liked. And the name of our children is the one name that we agreed on. But yeah, that was how we did it. It was always like they had to have a family name and a biblical name. And Mariner Seth Studley. Seth is both biblical and family. Yeah. And then Matthias Tough Studley.
Yeah. So Matthias
he goes by
family.
Tough.
Yeah. And then Matthew is is from
and then
Matthias. Yeah.
Yeah. Matthias
and then
is
Hadassah.
And then Hadassah Lula. And Hadassah is Queen Esther.
Queen Esther in the Bible, yeah.
Yeah, but she goes by
How did y'all decide though? Because I'm trying to think like who on my family I would want to name our child after. Like, what did y'all ever get mad? Like, if he named somebody and you're like, nah, we're not naming it after that.
No,
we never.
He's
John. John is in the Bible. No, Uncle John was a drunk. I don't want to mess with him.
Right. Like,
yeah, we didn't. I mean,
no. For us, so like Hadassah was super important to you from this book series that you read that was very impactful. And then my mother's middle name was Lula, right? So there's the family and the biblical
name. Her first name is Lula.
And then Hadassah Lula.
Your mom's first name is Lula.
Sorry, right. Well,
you said it was my mom's middle name.
No, it's all family, right? But then like her grandfather had just passed away right around the birth of our second son, so that was impactful and important. And then
that's
our first kid is Seth, so it's like, I mean,
Mariner Seth.
He technically could be Seth Jr.
Technically not. His first name is Mariner.
SJ.
Yeah, but we never fought about any, like, we didn't agree on any of them. So when we found the one that stuck, we went, okay, it's that. That's the one.
Let's roll with it.
And just as a warning, she will say dada first. There is no.
I've prepared. Listen, I talk about prayer. I've been in prayer about this, and God has already told me, I need to just not be selfish anymore. She's gonna have Kadero's whole heart.
Oh,
she will.
Bro, I mean, you don't even know.
Yeah, you don't.
This is why we need date night every night leading up into it, because I'm like, I know. I mean, we've dreamt about her for 11 years. So it's like, I'm going to be the tough one on her, and he's going to
Oh, 100%.
It's so sweet. Like it's just gonna melt your heart. Hattie looks at him like she has never seen anything better in her entire life. I mean, it's the best. It's the best.
It is sweet. Yeah. There's a daddy-daughter dance that I've taken her to a couple times.
Sign up for all of them forever.
Then that's where she probably will call me because he done stole the show and is in the middle of the dance floor doing
He's out there dancing.
He's moonwalking. She's like, Mom.
You're like, Dad, slow down. You're embarrassing.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's embarrassing me.
That's going to be so fun.
I think at the end of the day, man, I'm so excited for our little one. But it was somebody wrote a message to us and was like, your baby girl is already loved around the globe. And that hit me like, wow. Like, and then somebody else put, your baby girl is already changing many lives for the better. Yeah. Just because we told our story and here she is, this miracle child from God that, man, I believe again. And it's because of your child. And it's like our unborn child is already changing lives.
And those are the stories,
crazy,
right? Yeah. Like when people say like, I'm ready to commit to God again, or like, dust off our relationship and rekindle, my belief in Christianity. And it's kind of like, we just never know. You never know how you can impact somebody just by your actions or just by being obedient. And it's like just the amount of lives that are changed just from us being obedient, telling our story. It's like, God, we're just thankful to him for allowing us to even do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
That's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. Like for real, convicted, inspired, all the things just from this last hour.
Seth's going to start praying again. Hallelujah.
Reminds me
brought him back to the fold. Okay.
Look, Melody been praying about that one part already. She's like, man, who would have thought my prayer's been answered because of Hope and Kadero. See?
Pastor K.
Hey, Pastor K, First Lady. That's what you guys are, right? No, for real. Thank you guys so much. Where can people find you? Stuff coming up. Tell our listeners so they can go directly there after this show.
Absolutely, man. Our biggest area is Instagram. Every Day with HK is our handle. You can find us there, and you can look us up on YouTube. Every Day with H and K. We just throw out a lot of just fun facts, fun videos, inspirational videos. Our YouTube's big on like different questions about relationships and things like that. So we're on TikTok, Facebook, kind of all the social media platforms.
Awesome.
So yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And what's coming up? We're just going to continue doing videos.
That's
this baby taking up most of the time, though.
Yeah, it is. Because I've been asleep.
Tired. Yeah, she's like,
yeah.
Nope, not doing a video today. Sorry.
Good.
Sleeping and parenting. That's what you guys are going to do. That's what you're supposed to do. So keep sight of that. So you guys, listeners, go there straight away. Again, guys, thank you so much. And this has been a joy to hang out and chill with you guys once again. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Have a great rest of your day.
Later.
Later.
We hope you guys love that episode as much as we did. Hope and Kadero are absolutely amazing. We can't wait to see their little teensy baby when it's born.
That means seriously.
Yes, I know. And so if you love this show, you should go follow them. And then after you go and follow them, you should rate and review this show on iTunes and let people know how much you loved it.
All right, guys.
That's the whole story.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Boy.